Sermon on the Mount, beginning with Matthew chapter 5. When Jesus saw the crowds, he went up on the mountainside, and after he sat down and the disciples had gathered around, Jesus began to teach them. Blessed are those who are poor in spirit. The kingdom of heaven is theirs. Blessed are those who are mourning. They will be consoled. Blessed are those who are gentle. They will inherit the land. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for justice. They will have their fill. Blessed are those who show mercy to others. They will be shown mercy. Blessed are those whose hearts are clean. They will see God. Blessed are those who work for peace. They will be called children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of their struggle for justice. The kingdom of heaven is theirs. You are fortunate when others insult you and persecute you and utter every kind of slander against you because of me. Be glad and rejoice, for your reward in heaven is great. They persecuted the prophets before you in the very same way.
You are the salt of the earth. But what if salt were to lose its flavor? How could you restore it? It would be fit for nothing but to be thrown out and trampled underfoot. You are the light of the world. You don't build a city on a hill, then try to hide it, do you? You don't light a lamp, then put it under a bushel basket, do you? No, you set it on a stand where it gives light to all in the house. In the same way, your light must shine before others, so that they may see your good acts and give praise to your Abba God in heaven. Don't think I've come to abolish the law and the prophets. I have come not to abolish them, but to fulfill them. The truth is, until heaven and earth pass away, not the smallest letter of the law, not even the smallest part of a letter, will be done away with until all is fulfilled. That's why whoever breaks the least significant of these commands and teaches others to do the same will be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. Whoever fulfills and teaches these commands will be called great in the kingdom of heaven. I tell you, unless your sense of justice surpasses that of the religious scholars and the Pharisees, you will not enter the kingdom of heaven.
If you bring your gift to the altar, and there remember that your sister or brother has a grudge against you, leave your gift there at the altar. Go to be reconciled to them, and then come and offer your gift. Lose no time in settling with your opponents. Do so while you're still on the way to the courthouse with them. Otherwise, your opponents may hand you over to the judge, and the judge may hand you over to the bailiff, who will throw you in prison. I warn you, you won't get out until you have paid the last penny. You've heard the commandment, no committing adultery. But I tell you that those who look lustfully at others have already committed adultery with them in their hearts. If your right eye causes you to sin, pluck it out and throw it away. It's better to lose part of your body than to have it all cast into Gehenna. And if your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off and throw it away. It is better to lose part of your body than to have it all cast into Gehenna. It was also said, whenever a couple divorces, each partner must get a decree of divorce. But I tell you that everyone who commits divorce, except because of adultery, forces the spouse to commit adultery. Those who marry the divorced also commit adultery.
Again, you have heard that our ancestors were told, don't break your vow, fulfill all oaths made to our God. But I tell you, don't swear oaths at all. Don't swear by heaven, for it is God's throne. Don't swear by earth, for it is God's footstool. Don't swear by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great ruler. And don't swear by your own head, for you can't make a single hair white or black. Say yes when you mean yes, and no when you mean no. Anything beyond that is from the evil one. You've heard the commandment, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I tell you, offer no resistance whatsoever when you're confronted with violence. When someone strikes you on the right cheek, turn and offer the other. If anyone wants to sue you for your shirt, hand over your coat as well. Should anyone press you into service for 1 mile, go 2 miles. Give to those who beg from you, and don't turn your back on those who want to borrow from you. You've heard it said, love your neighbor, but hate your enemy. But I tell you, love your enemies and pray for your persecutors. This will prove that you are children of God. For God makes the sun rise on bad and good alike. God's rain falls on the just and the unjust. If you love those who love you, what merit is there in that? Don't tax collectors do as much? And if you greet only your sisters and brothers, what's so praiseworthy about that? Don't Gentiles do as much? Therefore, be perfect, as Abba God in heaven is perfect.
Beware of practicing your piety before others to attract their attention. If you do this, you will have no reward from your Abba God in heaven. When you do acts of charity, for example, don't have it trumpeted before you. That's what the hypocrites do in the synagogue and in the streets, that they may be praised by others. The truth is, they've already received their reward in full. But when you do acts of charity, don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. Your good deeds must be done in secret, and your Abba God, who sees all that is done in secret, will repay you. And when you pray, don't behave like the hypocrites. They love to pray standing up in the synagogues and on street corners for people to see them. The truth is, they have received their reward in full. But when you pray, go to your room, shut the door, and pray to God who is in that secret place. And your Abba God, who sees all that is done in secret, will reward you. And when you pray, don't babble like the Gentiles. They think God will hear them if they use a lot of words. Don't imitate them. Your God knows what you need before you ask it. This is how you are to pray. Abba God in heaven, hallowed be your name. May your reign come. May your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us today the bread of tomorrow. And forgive us our debts as we hereby forgive those who are indebted to us. Don't put us to the test, but free us from evil. If you forgive the faults of others, Abba God will forgive you yours. And don't forgive others. If you don't forgive others, neither will Abba God forgive you.
And when you fast, don't look depressed like the hypocrites. They deliberately neglect their appearance to let everyone know that they are fasting. The truth is, they have already received their reward. But when you fast, brush your hair and wash your face. Don't let anyone know you're fasting except for your Abba God, who sees all that is done in secret. And Abba God, who sees everything that is done in secret, will reward you. Don't store up earthly treasures for yourselves, which moths and rust destroy and thieves can break in and steal, but store up treasures for yourself in heaven, where neither moth nor rust can destroy and thieves cannot break in and steal them. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. The lamp of the body is the eye. If your eye is sound, your whole body will be filled with light. But if your eye is diseased, your whole body will be in darkness. And if the light inside you is darkness, how great that darkness will be. No one can serve two superiors. You will either hate one and love the other, or be attentive to one and despise the other. You cannot give yourself to God and money. That's why I tell you not to worry about your livelihood, what you are to eat or drink or use for clothing. Isn't life more than just food? Isn't the body more than just clothes? Look at the birds in the sky. They don't sow or reap. They gather nothing into barns, yet our God in heaven feeds them. Aren't you more important than they? Which of you, by worrying, can add a moment to your lifespan? And why be anxious about clothing? Learn a lesson from the way the wildflowers grow. They don't work, they don't spin, yet I tell you, not even Solomon in full splendor was arrayed like one of these. If God can clothe in such splendor the grasses of the field, which bloom today and are thrown onto the fire tomorrow, won't God do so much more for you, you who have so little faith? Stop worrying then over questions such as what are we to eat, or what are we to drink, or what are we to wear. Those without faith are always running after these things. God knows everything you need. Seek first God's reign and God's justice, and all these things will be given to you besides. Enough of worrying about tomorrow. Let tomorrow take care of itself. Today has troubles enough of its own.
Don't judge, or you yourself will be judged. Your judgment on others will be the judgment you receive. The measure you use will be used to measure you. Why do you look at the splinter in your neighbor's eye and never see the board in your own eye? How can you say to your neighbor, "Let me remove the splinter in your eye," when the whole time there's a 2x4 in your own? Hypocrite! Remove the board from your own eye first. Then you'll be able to see clearly to remove the splinter from your neighbor's eye. Don't give to dogs what is sacred. Don't throw your pearls to pigs. If you do, they'll just trample them underfoot, then turn and tear you to pieces. Ask and keep asking, and you will receive. Seek and keep seeking, and you will find. Knock and keep knocking, and the door will be open to you. For the one who keeps asking receives. The one who keeps seeking finds. And the one who keeps knocking enters. Is there any among you who would hand your daughter a stone when she asks for bread? Would one of you hand your son a snake when he asks for a fish? If you, with all your faults, know how to give your children what is good, how much more will your Abba God in heaven give good things to those who ask? Therefore, treat others as you would have them treat you. This is the whole meaning of the law and the prophets.
Enter by the narrow gate. The wide gate puts you on the spacious road to damnation, and many take it. But it's a small gate, a narrow gate, that leads to life, and only a few find it. Be on your guard against false prophets who come to you disguised as sheep, but underneath are ravenous wolves. You will be able to tell them apart by their fruit. Can people pick grapes from thorns or figs from thistles? In the same way, a sound tree produces good fruit, and a rotten tree produces bad fruit. A sound tree cannot produce rotten fruit, and a rotten tree cannot produce good fruit. Any tree that does not produce good fruit is cut down and thrown in the fire. I repeat, you'll be able to tell them by their fruit. It isn't those who cry out, my Savior, who will enter the kingdom of heaven. Rather, it is those who do the will of Abba God in heaven. When the day comes, many will plead with me, Savior, Savior, have we not prophesied in your name? Have we not exorcised demons in your name? Didn't we do many miracles in your name as well? Then I will declare to them, I never knew you. Out of my sight, you evildoers.
Anyone who hears my words and puts them into practice is like the sage who built a house on a rock. When the rainy season sat in, the torrents came and the winds blew and buffeted the house. It didn't collapse because it had been set solidly on rock. Anyone who hears my words but does not put them into practice is like the fool who built a house on sandy ground. The rains fell, the torrents came, the winds blew and lashed against the house, and it collapsed and was completely ruined. Jesus finished speaking and left the crowds spellbound at his teaching because he taught with an authority that was unlike their religious scholars. Here ends the reading. Thanks be to God.